Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening in Pakistan and India. Good evening in UK, and good morning in Canada. All over the world, my viewers are watching this program. Whenever I see my Facebook pages and I scroll down my Facebook, I see always one person always smiling and laughing. Her name is Sheetal Rao, and I thought like I should talk about her and ask her what is the secret behind all these this smile and encouraging things. So she was always talking about good things, and how I wanted to know how it is going on for her, and what is her journey, and what is inspiring her to keep on smiling all the time and be happy. Sheetal Rao belongs to India, and she's my special guest today. And interestingly, her last name and my last name are same too.
Yes.
So, but we belong to different countries, different everything different. But interestingly, we will ask about that background too. And Sheetal, welcome to my show in Hyde Park, and Happy New Year to you and all your followers too.
Thank you so much, Tahir. It's a pleasure to be here and wish you and your followers a happy new year as well, and your family, of course.
Yeah, so we will talk about your journey to this happiness. And and in my introduction, I mentioned that like I always see you smiling and laughing and talking good things. So there was one, I don't know the poet name, but there's a very famous ghazal of Jagjit Singh, "Tum itna jo muskura rahe ho, kya gam hai use chupa rahe ho." So is it that thing, or is it the real thing coming from your heart?
I think that's for everybody else to decide. We've all had our journeys, right? So
Yes,
all of us are born, and I can't see one single human being around me who can say that they've had like a perfect life, so to say. Okay.
true.
But then the thing is, see, what I always believe in is that happiness is always a choice. Okay. And I think that's that's the premise on which I have lived my life for as
Yes.
long that I have existed. So yeah, in spite of our journeys. So I think for me, what really happens is when you give as much of joy to people, you get as much joy and love in return. And I think as
Yes.
long as we kind of hold on to it, I guess we can always lead a happy life. And that's what I believe in.
True. Okay, so you are doing a lot of things. You're working also, and you're doing you have your Facebook inspiration,
Hmm.
inspiring living community also. So how you reach there at that stage? So because you wanted to share, like sometimes people have their own traumas in life, and then they just come up with their trauma and they start living life, but they don't include people into their journey. So how it come to your mind that you should also be you wanted to share your journey with the other people, and people could take like they can decide from your experience, and they can also make their life better. So what is your journey, how you reach at that
Sure.
stage?
Sure. So let's look at it like this. I don't call any experience as trauma. I always call it as an experience, okay?
Yes,
Because I feel that life gives you certain experiences because firstly you need to learn from those experiences. There are lessons which are
true.
hidden through those
Yep.
journeys, and it also makes you stronger. It kind of brings you closer to the person or the human being that you are meant to become or destined to become. And yes, I've had my journey. I mean, I would say it hasn't really been the easiest one that you could ever expect. I mean, just a bit of a background about where I come from. Of course,
Sure.
a very happy, go lucky kind of a childhood. I come from an army background. So my father was in the army. We kept getting posted from place to place every
Oh
three
yeah.
years. I eventually completed my academics and start working. And then all of a sudden, one day you realize that you're not able to walk. Okay, you're not able to walk when you wake up in the morning, and
Hmm.
when you look at your legs, you feel that oh, you've got like these blood red spots everywhere, and you suddenly start wondering what's wrong with me. And I was in a
Hmm.
different city. I call up my parents, they land up there, and a battery of tests later, I get detected with something called an ITP, which is an idiopathic thrombocytopenia, which means an unexplained reduction of your platelet counts.
Hmm.
a host of tests and medication later, I feel that I'm like perfectly fine. And then I come to Pune for for a job, and somewhere along the way, I get married, and I have a baby, lose the child after 4 days of birth.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
Sorry to hear about that.
at that point of time there was no diagnosis. The diagnosis came in much later, that I had a condition called an autoimmune condition called lupus. Okay.
Hmm.
Lupus, which is basically a condition where any organ of your body could get impacted. And
Okay.
in my case it was basically my kidneys, okay, and
Oh,
which had
okay.
gotten impacted.
Hmm.
uh, so a little after that, there was a time when the doctors actually told me that I had just 5 years to live.
Hmm.
And I think when someone comes and tells you that you have just 5 years to
True.
live, all of a sudden you have so much clarity which comes in your head
Hmm.
about what your priorities are.
True.
All of a sudden the things that you can think of, like say for example having a fancy house, having a car, having loads of money in your bank account, and all of those things really don't matter anymore. you know
True.
and I think in those moments of distress, I would say, losing a child, getting diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and stuff, I think I kind of, found my purpose. Okay. And my purpose or my journey really started off there, because in that moment I had a choice to make. Do I really want to live the rest of my life as if, it has already come to an end? I can choose
Hmm.
to die every day, or else I can actually choose to live and make a difference in the world that I live in. And for
Hmm.
me, I chose the latter.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And so I, over the course of the last as many years, I've had multiple opportunities to engage with people. I always used to do like pro bono counseling, okay, because obviously people knew about my journey. I never was inhibited about my journey. I always used to kind of talk about it and share it. Even a condition like lupus, which has very less awareness, especially in India,
Hmm.
I would talk about it on different forums. And people started approaching, and I would talk to them and counsel them, whether it's about relationship issues or it's about health issues and stuff. And somewhere along the way, I think that's where the whole genesis of inspired living community has came in. I think we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah,
Yeah,
prima
sure.
facie, it had always been a part of my journey.
So when you was diagnosed, when you were diagnosed for that one, which year?
Lupus was, I think, 2009.
Okay, and what that this autoimmune kidney was when?
Yeah, that was lupus.
Okay,
Lupus
okay, that was
induced,
there. Okay,
yeah.
so of course it's a personal question. So the parents always like they own their child,
Yeah.
whatever the condition he or she has. But
Mm.
especially for the your spouse, your husband, it's
Mhm.
always shocking for them, and they generally like. Especially in our culture, so
Mm.
they get away from that one. They don't want to take responsibility. So how you were supported by your husband and your the husband's family for that one? What was their reaction?
Uh, I would say at that point of time, of course, it was, I had all the support that I could have ever asked for from my family. I wouldn't particularly want to talk about my spouse because, I mean, we're no longer together. So, in that
Mhm.
sense, I mean, it's been
Okay,
many years that we are kind of, separated.
sure.
And
Okay.
I think that's where I would want to leave it. But
Mhm.
yes, saying that, no complaints. I think at that point in time, everybody played the role that they would want to, whether it's my family or his side of the family. I don't think there was a reason for me to really complain. But of course, I would want to make a special mention for my family, because I think had it not been for them, I
Mhm.
don't think I would have made it through. Okay. And I think that's where I would also want to highlight that, see, situations become a lot more easier to deal with if you were to have a strong support system, which in
Sure.
my case was very unconditional. I
Mhm.
mean, I had my share of ups and downs in terms of course, it's an emotional turmoil. You can't be like
Exactly.
happy all the days. You will
Exactly.
have days when you will wake up feeling grumpy. And with conditions which are autoimmune induced, you have days, you suddenly have a flare up on one day, okay, and you're not feeling up to it. You're having palpitations. You're probably just not feeling like a human at all,
True.
okay. Uh, they've taken my quirks, they have taken my anger, they have taken those days when I was just not up to it. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Oh, that's
whether
good.
it's through that or it's through my, of course, I mean, the only thing that I can talk about as far as my marriage was concerned was it wasn't exactly a happy one. Okay. But
Mhm.
saying that, there are a lot of us who have these situations, and again it finally boils down to your choices. So I mean, I think we live a relationship which we think we would want to invest in, but there does come a point when you take a decision about it, and I think I just kind of we reached a point where we just had to kind
Mhm.
of
Okay.
decide. Yeah.
So, of course, like then people
Mhm.
know a lot of things in our education, and we can talk about a lot of things. We
Yeah.
can advise people. This is
Mhm.
our,
Mhm.
especially in Eastern culture, also. Like whenever you meet,
Mhm.
everybody will give you a 10 advice. Okay, do this, don't do this. Everybody, like when you meet your friends,
Mhm.
family, relatives, but implementation is very difficult on by himself or herself, so on
Mhm.
practicing by own. So
Mhm.
how you like cope with that one? Because of course people were telling a lot of you, oh, you do this thing, you do this, and what of thing. But of course you learned from your experiences also. Did you take some external support, or you design by yourself, you take your own decisions?
So, all right. There was a time when I really felt the need to vent it out. Okay, and
Yes.
it does happen that you may not really you are at some point of time or the other, you're kind of scared that you would hurt the people that you love the most. Okay, so for
True.
me, rather than to open up, and it had nothing to do with my condition was out there in the open. Yes, I was a very very closed person pre 2012, I would say, and I used to kind of keep a lot of things within myself. Okay, even the things that I planned for my life, or the
Mhm.
way I was feeling, I found it very hard to kind of express. Okay, and at that point of time I did go through therapy for about a month,
Mhm.
a couple of sessions. But what I realized was, yes, a therapy is great, a therapy is really really helpful, but I
True.
think things change only when you take responsibility for your life. Okay, we could go to a therapist for a million years and still not come back with results.
True.
Okay, for me, probably I would say that if I have transformed 100% from where I was back then, I would say that 20% of that credit goes to the therapist, and
Mhm.
80% of the credit goes to me and the people who pushed me into
True.
this whole journey. Okay, coming to advice, yes, of course there are a lot of people who give a lot of advice, but I think that's where my stubbornness helped. Okay, I'm a very stubborn person. Okay,
Mhm.
and I say it with a lot of pride because it's not a bad kind of stubbornness. It's
Yeah, sure.
basically about having the ability to sort of filter out what you think is not necessary. I will listen
True.
to everybody, but finally at the end of it I will make the choices. Why? Not because of anything else, not because I'm stubborn, but because I feel that when I choose something for myself, I am in a better position where I can take responsibility for the consequences. Some of your decisions may go right, some could go wrong.
Mhm.
But the minute you know that you don't have anybody else except yourself to blame, you are in a better situation rather than to actually spend the rest of your life saying कि अरे ये तो आपने बोला था इसीलिए मेरे साथ ऐसा हो गया है.
Gee, exactly. So, and of course, when you are cope with that one and you start living with that, when you decided and why you decided to include other people for that one.
So, I okay, this is kind of a little funny because all through my college, through my growing up years, I've been like an agony aunt
Mhm.
throughout. Okay, so
Mhm.
it was not new for me to actually counsel people or get put them push them through their problems, helping them resolve situations, etc. So when I had so many of my own experiences, I kind of realized that I should start possibly influencing or talking to people so that they are able to, because I really felt that there has to be a lot of positivity around us, there has to be
Mhm.
a lot of inspiration. And for most of the people that I saw around myself, I realized that people were going as if life is just हाँ ठीक है, life है, चल रहा है, जैसा है ठीक है.
Mhm.
Everybody has their grouses against what could be. Okay. And we as human beings think too much into the future without realizing that you're losing out on the present in the process. Okay. So too many things. And I've essentially been a thinker all along. I read a lot, I implement a lot. And I truly believe that, you have been gifted with this gift of life so that you can live it and not just, meander around through this entire journey as if you're going to die tomorrow anyway. So what's the point of, living it as such? Okay. uh, I think suddenly you realize that you've reached a point where I think money doesn't give you that joy. You realize that you've reached a point where things don't give you as much of a joy as much as it drives you to see that joy on somebody else's face.
True.
Okay. And I think that's really where my whole journey started off from. And as I started talking and opening up and, sharing my own experiences and journeys, I realized that storytelling is a very, very powerful medium. I mean, I know for sure that when I sit across the table with somebody who needs a resolution, it
Mhm.
has never helped if I have to go there and say that, hey, you know what? Acha, tum aisa karo, tum vaisa karo. But what
Right.
really helps is when you go back and say that, hey, you know what? I've gone through a similar experience, or maybe I know somebody who has gone through a similar experience. And this is possibly what that person did, which helped. So there you're not being a Gyani Baba and sharing Gyan without having experienced something, okay?
Mhm.
And so that eventually many years later became the foundation to what we now call as the inspired living community, which actually I started off during the pandemic itself, not before
Oh,
that.
okay, great. So now you are doing as a like formal, like it's a informal on Facebook with your friends and who have random people can join and listen to your or watch your videos, or it's a proper like you have given some formal shape to that.
Okay, so let's look at where it really started off from. Okay, because as I said, I started this. I'm essentially a very camera shy person. Okay, so though I wanted to create a space where I can,
Express yourself.
spread this message of love, inspiration, empowerment, and stuff, I kind of realized that when I was doing one to one, it
Mm.
obviously was limited to the person that I was speaking to.
True.
The inspiration was limited to those people who I was practically interacting with.
True.
Okay. However, saying that, the only way in which I could have taken it to a larger platform was by leveraging social media. Okay.
True.
And but being the camera shy person that I was, I procrastinated it for 3 years. I mean, I was continuing to do pro bono counseling alongside with my work and
Mm.
everything else. But saying that, it never took a formal shape like how it is today. So during the pandemic, I remember, and I'm essentially a very social person, so I had a weekday looking like where I at least had like 2 or 3 times that I would
Mm.
step out, catch up with people. And I'm a very one-to-one person.
Mhm.
And suddenly pandemic changes everything, right? You suddenly are like closed in the house and you can't step out. And 2 months down, I realized that I was starting to get a little frustrated. Okay. And it was obvious I was irritable. I would snap, and I'd probably not feel upbeat about things in general, which was very unusual of me because I mean,
Mhm.
through all of these situations in the
True.
background, I never had a situation like that. And that got me thinking, and I was like, all of this while, all that I could complain about was I never have time to do some of the things that were there on my list. I didn't have the opportunity. And suddenly, somewhere, I also read that, the depression percentages through the pandemic were as high as 63%, which is insane.
Mhm.
Imagine 63% people going through some or the other stages of depression.
Yeah.
And that's when I asked myself this question that, rather than to complain and crib about everything that's going wrong, why can't I use this opportunity to create something that I've always wanted to create and
Right.
in turn impact people?
अच्छा, मुझे
Okay.
एक और बात बताइए कि जो ऑफ कोर्स I'm फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान, यूर इंडिया, वी आर सेम
Hmm.
लॉट ऑफ
Hmm.
कल्चर्स देयर. तो
Yes.
हमारे जो इशू है उसमें अगर कोई बंदा इफ somebody is going to for some counseling or especially like
Hmm.
anything mental health, so people don't
Hmm.
take, first of all, they don't take serious. So
Hmm.
everybody
Hmm.
has one or some issue, like everybody you mentioned, 63% people having
Hmm.
depression and all that thing. So everyone
Mm,
is going through with that. Like some people we say, "Hey, this person is like this person, that person is like this," but
mm,
that we don't realize that it is a, we have some mental health issue and we should
mm,
seek a counseling. बल्कि हम तो
mm,
कहते हैं कि वो यार ये तो पागल हो गया है, ठीक है, और people
mm,
shy away, people don't go and discuss them कि people will
mm.
judge me. So
Yeah.
इस तरह
Yeah.
का आपको how what kind of reaction you got when you start counseling, or people were like people take it receptive, or people were shy away to discuss with you, and they said, oh, okay, if I'll tell some to her or somebody else, so
Mm.
that person will judge me or tell some other people कि I'm taking some medical advice, some mental advice or something else. What do you think about that?
So I'll tell you what, I think essentially I never had a problem with that because, again, as I said, it was my choice.
Sure.
Nobody forced me into it. Okay. Secondly, my family was quite supportive. And thirdly, if somebody has a problem, it's their problem, not mine.
True.
So for me, what is important is that I have a problem which is bothering me and I need to find a solution to it. Whether it gives me a solution or not is another thing
Yeah.
altogether.
True.
Okay, at that point in time, as I said,
But should
20%
try,
I
like,
would owe it. But then the thing is, if I am not committed to resolving my own problems, who would be?
true.
So I think for all of those people who are struggling, okay, yes, of course, there are a million ways in which you can try and find resolutions yourself, okay, but the strongest of people at some point of time or the other may come to a stage where they feel that they need somebody who's not biased. Like, say, a lot of people may not talk to their own families because they would feel that अरे उनको चोट लग जाएगा, or else they'll feel hurt about it. Some
True.
people may not really open up because they would feel, oh, is it an indication of me being weak?
Judge करेगा आपको. The people will start judging, of course,
कोई
if you.
जज करेगा करके नहीं करता है, कोई ये सोचता है कि अरे नहीं, मुझे आई एम अ वेरी स्ट्रांग पर्सन, आई विल बी परसीव्ड एज समबडी हु इज वीक, सो आई विल नॉट गो टू अ थेरेपिस्ट. Okay, forget about therapist though is at a different stage altogether. Okay,
True.
people don't even talk about what they're going through
Mhm.
until it reaches a point where you start having thoughts which are so negative, like whether it's about getting suicidal or you wanting to not feel any joy in your life. If you're a human being, you will go through this whole range of emotions. Until you see what sadness is, how will you know and appreciate joy? But
Of
when you're
course, true.
feeling sad, if you say that no, I'm going to stay there itself, then you are choosing that life for yourself.
True. So, okay. So, and of course, I wanted to use see a smiling face on my YouTube channel, but we took we took our
No, it's
conversation
okay.
with on that one. So, what do you do other than that? This Facebook, I can, of course, I see only on Facebook you,
Okay. I've always kind of
because you are
dabbled in
multi-talented. I know for a fact.
multiple. Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed with some creative genes, I would say. Though I'm terrible at sports, that hasn't ever been my forte at all. But yes, there are a couple of other things that I'm involved in. I'm a musician, so I sing and
Oh,
I play the guitar,
great.
and
So, what kind of music you sing?
I think pretty much everything. Everything in the sense, I mean, I'm kind of fond of retro classic rock. I like Indian music as well. Pakistani Coke Studio is like one of my favorites as well. So in
Oh,
that
great.
sense, I think it's like a diverse range. Yes, I can't handle bhangra and I can't handle EDM. So these are two genres which I can't ever appreciate as such.
Mhm.
Besides that, I do write. I kind
What
of
kind of
love.
writing you do? Like it's a fiction, like it's
So
what
for a
kind?
very long time, I used to kind of write poetry. Now it's
Oh,
been a
wonderful.
while. Yes, I in fact
So
used to run a
poetry in
page as
which
well.
language you do your poetry?
English
English. Okay.
mostly. Yeah, English.
Okay.
Though I'm conversant with Hindi, but yes, I mean, I come from South India in that sense. Okay, so Hindi has, I would say, I mean, I've studied Hindi during my school,
Of course.
but back home, I think it has always been more of Telugu and English that is spoken. Now, of course, I mean, we do a lot of Hindi as well. So
True.
I think I grew up reading English books and novels and stuff, and that language sort of comes to me a lot more easily.
So poetry, what kind of poetry you do? Like revolutionary, or it's a romantic,
No,
or
not really, not
like
really. So,
what kind of on a social
so
issues? People like.
I think
और ये जस्ट
diverse.
सिंपल हिंदुस्तान सारा जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा,
No,
ऐसे
not
पेट्रियाटिक
really, not really. No,
पेट्रियाटिक
I kind of
पोएट्री.
used to write a lot about emotions. I'm essentially a very emotional person. So anything which is emotional, whether it's about love or heartbreak and stuff, used to come very easily. But saying that, now it's been almost like about 5, 6 years, I've consciously sort of stopped writing. Okay, because I kind of realized that there are like, if I want to write, I want to write about things that are joyful, okay, which are happy. And as much as I connect to that emotion of melancholy when it comes to writing, I would rather not attract it, because I also follow this whole practice of law of attraction. So I feel that whatever I write, it basically converts into truth, and that's why I'm kind of a little inhibited about writing anything which probably has that negative connotation to it,
So
But
do you
yeah,
listen music also?
oh yes, I do listen to a lot
What
of
kind of
music.
music you listen to,
Again,
like?
a lot of rock is what I listen to. I listen to a lot of Hindustani, not classical, but yeah, the melodious
Yeah,
Bollywood
melodies, the
music.
filmy songs, like yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's something which I enjoy. I like classic rock, retro. These are some of the kind of music that I'm fond of.
Oh, great. So what other things you do other than your this like in your life? So how do
So
you do?
honestly, my work kind of keeps me very busy. I run a consulting firm, an HR consulting firm, which is basically what my real job is, or rather, is what I
Okay,
do
you're okay.
for work. So I turned an entrepreneur like about 7 years back. So me and I have a business partner. Both of us run an HR consulting firm, and that's what I do like 5 days a week. But Saturdays
Mm,
and Sundays is usually the time that I spend on running the community. In that sense, like creating content or keeping the rest of my social pages active. So a lot of my work gets done over the weekend itself. Plus, of course, that's the time that I love spending time with my family. For the simple reason that through the entire week they are very patient with me. I hardly have time to spend except for an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours in a day, which is also
mhm.
like a luxury. So I try and make it a point that on Saturdays and Sundays I spend enough time with the family. Then, of course, I've been living in Pune for the last 16 years now. Almost seem like a fossil now, but yeah, saying that, that's the time that I also catch up with friends. Whether over calls or during the days when we could actually meet up in person. Now, of course, thankfully, we've again started catching up in person. So yeah, that's something which I do over the weekends as well. But that's
Okay.
about it. Yeah.
So coming to your counseling services and this inspiring
Mhm.
living, so have you done your education in this field, or after
No,
this
no.
thing happened to you, and then it is a really practical things you gone through in that process, and you just learned, and that you start counseling? That's like a real experience,
So
like life
see,
experience.
I
You're
keep
sharing the
saying
life
this all the
experiences, you can say.
I keep saying this all the time. I'm not a qualified counselor. I'm an experienced one. Okay. So
Mhm.
the point is, I don't do this for a profession as a
Sure.
profession. So I have no commercial interest in terms of, when I counsel people, I just do it with an intent that I want that person to
Mhm.
live a better life. And that's how it is.
Yeah, true.
Today, of course, on a larger platform, like say an Inspired Living Community, I mean, of course, we are 2,300 people at this point in time in like about a year and 3 months now. So my whole idea is to get those stories and messages across. And in fact, we've been very, very fortunate in that sense to have had some phenomenal people coming into the community. People who have shared their stories of grit and determination. People who have broken stereotypes. Like say, for example, someone who has started a career post 45 years of age. Somebody who is, who's a triathlete. This lady who's a triathlete. Likewise, we had Jane who had come and who spent 23 years living in the slums, and
Mhm.
she went on to like right now as we speak, she's basically the head of sales for Facebook
Yeah, okay.
in Middle East and Africa.
Mhm.
Likewise, we've had some beautiful stories of people who have gone through body shaming, domestic abuse, and have gotten out of it and created a life where they've been able to impact people. We have covered a lot of NGOs along the process as well, who work in the space of, rescuing women who are stuck in trafficking and rehabilitating them. Likewise,
Mhm.
people who, NGOs which have actually gone out there and fed uh, thousands and thousands of people during the
Oh,
pandemic, risking their own lives. People who have battled health conditions like cancer, kidney issues,
true.
etc. Oh my God, you can't even imagine every time. So it really started off with me sharing my story. And I'm talking as a person who is not even a qualified counselor for that matter.
True.
Okay. But the point is that every time that we have hosted somebody who has a story, and we've been able to spot that story, it's an ordinary person who has an extraordinary story, and
Extraordinary
we've been
story.
able
True.
to bring it to the community. For me, I think my biggest gift is when people come back saying that it has changed their lives. I've even had people reaching out saying that, it's because of the community that we've been able to live through the pandemic.
Mhm.
Every Saturday we would kind of, log in and attend the sessions. And I think that's the joy that it
Yeah,
brings for
that's
me.
good. Yeah.
So
So
I don't aim to be like a professional counselor, but
true.
saying that, yes, this is something which is
And of
more of,
course you have been gone through, and it is transformed your mind and everything. So when you speak your heart, rather
of
like
course,
the bookish knowledge. You could just not giving, okay, use a checklist. If you have this problem, symptom, tell 1 2 3 4 5, do this thing, sleep at night,
absolutely
blah
not.
blah blah. So
Absolutely not.
you're speaking your heart. That's good. Of course the experience, there is no substitute about related to experience. And not only experience, like your own experience. It's not like, okay, you
Yeah.
worked in some setup and then you can tell a story. That is a, again,
No,
a
it's not just about my experiences, Tahir. Honestly, I think I have to give a lot of credit to the people who have come into my life as well. So all the things that I
yes.
would only say I'm sharing what I have learned, whether
Yes,
through
exactly.
my own experiences
Or
or
somebody
through
else.
someone's experiences. And even for that matter, we're talking about bookish knowledge. I can't discount out the importance of what I have learned by reading when I was going through my
True.
journey, or, even today for that matter, because I'm an avid reader, I do keep reading about different things, like whether it's about human behavior. Like, say for example, there's this person, Dr. Joe Dispenza, whose books have greatly inspired me, okay, because he talks about how people can actually bring science and spirituality and put it together and create a
True.
life of their choice. Now, for me, my joy comes from sharing what I'm learning,
Yes, true.
and that's where it is.
True. Yeah, that's of course, like it's a, the real stories of your, when you're telling the real
Yeah,
stories. So
yeah.
of course, people, your story and the people's story who matters to you and you come across. And even you mentioned that people are telling other stories, other people also telling their stories. So of course it's becoming
Of
a
course, of
big
course.
family. There's a big in one of my friend, like he has here in Canada, so he has a family of heart. So he called this a family of heart. He choose people of, like, you have a real family, your own, and then you have a family of heart. You choose people to live with them, and your friends and all that
Absolutely.
thing. So that's
Yeah.
the, of course, is a similar kind of thing. Okay, so raw. So coming to that point, so I'm also raw, but I'm from Haryana. And so what is the like background of that, this raw? I can tell my
So
story.
I am actually from Andhra Pradesh. So we are from
Andhra Pradesh.
Vizag,
Okay.
Vishakhapatnam. Yes. So though I've never really lived there as such by virtue of my dad being in the army, but of course I can speak the language, and I still have like most of my relatives living there. So given that, of course, that's where the Rao comes in from.
Pradesh means UP.
No, no, AP. Andhra Pradesh is a state
Okay, okay,
in
yeah, okay, okay,
India.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're so
It's the
actually,
southern part of India. Yeah.
yeah, southern parts. Yeah, a lot of people, when I talk to people, so a lot of people
Hmm.
also think I'm from southern part of India. But yeah, so mine is like,
Yeah.
we are from, my parents migrated in 47 from Haryana.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so we are Rajput by caste. So
Oh, you are.
yeah,
Okay.
Raoji and Rana, actually, basically. So these are
Uh-huh.
the surname for the Rajputs of Haryana, basically.
Got that. Got that.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
father had a short stint in Hisar, actually. Yeah, he was posted in Hisar for some time.
Ah, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. So it's a good thing, like when you're like in army, so you see the whole.
Yeah,
in case of
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So okay, great. Thank you very much, Sheetal, to have. It's my honor you joined me and
My
we talked.
pleasure.
And hopefully we will connect some other date also, some other time also, and we you can talk. I would like. I invite you to, if you have a time, so you can do a program on my channel. So just like Inspiring Living in your Facebook, or you can connect with my YouTube. So most welcome. So because my channel is all about, I talk about the human issues. So I talk about the liberalism, democracy, and the human concerns. I did a lot of social issues. I'm more
Mhm.
concentrating on the social issues, especially. I did a lot of
True.
programs
Yeah.
on
And
this
it's an incredible work that you're doing, honestly,
yeah, so
Tahir.
I did a lot of programs on that, the social issues people are facing, the traumas and the challenges, or even
Yeah.
especially for the women empowerment. I'm working for that one,
Hmm.
so I did a lot of program on that one. So thank you very much again, Sheetal. Again, happy New Year again to you, and
Thank you so much
enjoy
as
your
well. And
the next year, the full 2022 and beyond, all the years. So connect you. Thank you very much. So Nazrin, this is my Hyde Park for today, and please join, subscribe to my channel, and like and share and comment on the programs. Uh, have a yeah, rest of your year good year for you. Thank you.
thank you so much, Tahir. Bye.
Thank you.